Hello again, I am Jim Bob. Welcome back to another episode of Jimsville and some more City Skylines PS4 edition action. And this is the last episode of the week. We'll be starting the series up again, or we'll be continuing the series on Monday. So get your ideas in for our next sort of major expansion over the weekend, and then we'll begin that on Monday. But just been making a few little tweaks while you've been away. So just to give you an indication of what I've done, you can see I've actually created two little mini districts just here. So our stadium area and this little row of shops here, this has been branded as leisure, and that also incorporates into this little bit of commercial just here as well. So we have a big leisure building here, so I figured let's make this a mini leisure district. And then over here I've actually branded this as tourism, just so we can get a couple of hotels, etc. in near our stadium. I figured it would be kind of an ideal spot for that. And we've also done the same thing over here as well. So you can see just here at our station, I've branded in a little bit of tourism just here. So it's changed some of the commercial buildings we've had pop up in this section just here. Got some souvenirs and a couple of clubs, etc. And then this section here, as you can see, this is tourism, and that's allowed us to drop in a few big hotels next to the station, and again a few sort of touristy style buildings in commercial just there in the run up to the station. So they're the main little tweaks that I've made. And then what I've also done is I've also purchased 2 new land tiles, and today, just to sort of round the week off, what we're going to be doing is building a very small little specialist farming town just here. Very small little farming town. We've built a lot of big stuff recently, so I wanted to build something a little bit smaller. So I've already gone ahead and prepped by expanding this road into double width, and I've had to relocate that ever so slightly, but it has meant that I can now bring the cycle path all the way down to the end here. Which means obviously these houses here are going to get bulldozed as we bring the road along there as well. So let's go ahead and draw in some road first of all. I'm going to build double road just in case. We might not need it. I'm just wary about the increase in traffic that this is likely to bring. So let's sort of head out towards our little farmland area like that. And so this is where our main sort of farmland area is. You can see, obviously, we've got a slightly different shade on the ground, but if we go to resources, you can see we've got some very, very fertile land just here. And this is what we're going to be building our farm on. And then we'll have a little bit of a town just around it. So a few houses, a basic sort of elementary school, and a very small police and fire presence as well. It's not going to be very big, this little area. It's going to be nice and small. So let's have our sort of main road that runs in like that. And now we want to build our farm. So I'm just going to go to dirt road for our farm itself. And I'm just drawing in some rough guidelines at the moment. So this isn't the actual confirmed layout of the farm or where it's going to feed in. But what I want to do is really try and maximise this wonderful fertile land that we have. And I'm going to try and build a custom little farm that really takes advantage, as I say, of the way this is laid out. So what I want to try and do is have those big sort of sweeping hills, sweeping fields that you see. It's not something that is widely kind of seen in game when you create your own farmland. It just tends to kind of, well, you can see from up here with Westbridge, it just drops in a whole random sort of assortment of buildings. We're going to build a very small little farm that's going to kind of support this little town area that we're building all the way down here. And we're going to have to wait for daytime now because I can't see anything. So I'm going to pause for a second, and then when it comes to daytime I'll continue drawing stuff in. So there we go. There is our basic kind of farm layout. Now if I go to info views, you can see that what I've tried to do is create a nice little lattice around that little very fertile patch of land just there. And up here, this is going to be my farmhouse area, so I'm going to have some houses and some of the little bits in there. And over here, we've got obviously nice stretches, but we need to create a main entrance to the farm. And I'm thinking that that is going to be this road here. So I'm going to bring this down like so. That's going to be our main way into the farm, and then we're going to actually create all of our different little sections sort of along here. So we're going to have to build this in stages. I can't go over the top with it, go overboard with it, but we do need to now kind of create our little farm, sort of town area around the farm. So let's go to double road, and let's bring this down. And we want to try and go a little bit more scenic this time, so I'm going to kind of freeform this. To about here, like so. And that's not really going to work, I'm thinking, the way I've got it sort of planned in my head. Let's pause time as well so we can keep it in the daytime. Let's curve this round earlier. So I kind of want to curve this around a little bit like this. And now let's go to just draw out some rough guide roads as a template, so I can get back onto a straight grid area. So I want a road going across, kind of like that, and then that, like that. And now what I can do is I can freeform that onto there quite nicely, like that. There we go. And this is going to be our central road that kind of runs through our little farming town. So let's upgrade that like that. There we go. In fact, let's make it quite decorative as we approach into the town limits, kind of thing. There we go. What else can we do? Let's go back to single lane road. So we have our kind of main road going off to the farm itself. And then we want to have a nice... That's a bit too close. Let's bring it down a touch. I'm just going to create sort of a main sort of central area. Actually, no. I want it to be nice and sort of gritty in the very centre, and then sort of a little bit looser and a bit more freeform as we move towards the farm and away from the centre of this little farming town that we're building. So let's go up to like that. There we go, that works. Now I've got my spacing right. Let's draw a line across. And another one that comes across like that. That's beautiful. That gives us a nice little bit of separation there between our farm and our residential. So as I say, this is going to be our main kind of way in. So we're going to want some sort of commercial, roughly kind of in the middle. This is all going to be low density as well. There's going to be nothing high res about any of this area. This is all going to be, you know, say, completely sort of stripped down. Make it nice and basic. Let's put our centre line back in a bit more. Need to delete that. There we go. So that's kind of like the main road that runs through the heart of our little town. And then it'll sort of branch off a little bit from here. So this is where we're going to start getting a little bit more freeform now that we've got our main sort of centre of our little town area in. That's not spaced right, that's why that's playing up. There we go, that's better. Just misjudged it ever so slightly on that piece there. Excellent, there we go. So let's continue to just sort of draw down a touch. And you have to be a little, you can't necessarily use the guidelines exactly the same way when you're working with double width road, because it will change the amount of zoning space you have. So that's why I went down that one extra block a second ago, because now you see I'm getting right up against that previous zoning, whereas before I would have overlapped it. These are just little things that you need to kind of be wary of when you're working around double width road. It will eat up, you know, a grid square either side of the... if I was to upgrade this, then we would lose a grid square either side there that would get eaten up by the wider road. So you wouldn't have 4 and 4 in that spot. You would have 3 and 4 instead. So it's just, again, something to be wary of. So we've got our little sort of centre of our town. So now we can start to get a little bit more creative. So let's go to freeform. We're going to bring a section out here around the back of the farmhouse. And let's start to create some side bits coming off here. I don't want to get too close to the farm itself. Just trying to create some interesting little residential areas. This is kind of what we did with the original version of Johto before, you know, we decided to rebuild it completely. Just going to create these slightly more interesting little, almost decorative areas where we can really sort of change the way things look. So we'll have our sort of little residential block down here like this. And this allows us to be a little bit more creative with things like parks and trees and just general landmarking as well. So you can see we've got a nice wide space here. We can just put a nice little belt of trees in between these sets of houses over here. Let's just quickly draw a line up here, I think. And so this is going to have a much looser kind of feel to it. This sort of little area that we're putting in here. So nothing over the top, nothing outlandish, but something a little bit with a little bit more character. You know, it's going to look a little bit weird, but at the same time, it's going to just hopefully just add a little bit more uniqueness as well to the area. Let's just take that piece out and relocate it slightly. Actually, let's just take it out completely. There we go. Have a little kind of little cul-de-sac area just there. I definitely think we could do with something along here. And there's no reason why we couldn't put something going in just there like that as well. So that's a nice little bit to there to get us kind of started. Let's have something coming off here as well into this space. There we go. So we've got a nice basic kind of area just to get us going. So let's start with some zoning. I'm going to be very selective with my zoning here. So we're going to use the select tool. As I said, this is going to be kind of where the farmhouse is. So let's zone in a nice 4x4 block for the house just there. Let's put in another 4x4 block for a house there, and we'll put in another one just there as well. We are going to put in our water piping system, and we're going to keep this nice and uniform just because it makes it much easier in the long run when you're planning your piping. So run a single pipe all the way down to about there. Now I've got a nice straight guideline to work from for this whole area. So I'm going to drop a pipe all the way up like so. And now I can put in all my other pipes running nice and neat along this area here. Making sure that we don't have, you know, gaps. That's absolutely fine. You know, each of those squares has got some kind of coverage, so they're all fine. That's pretty much bang on. And I'm going to continue kind of just dropping in these pipes, and then when they're all done, I'll come back to you in just a second. Okay, so we're fully piped in. I also checked and realised that we were a little bit low on water, you know, input. You know, we didn't have much water being pumped. So what I've done is added a couple of extra pumps just there. And I also added an extra waste output here, an extra water treatment plant. And then I looked at our power and saw that we were a little bit low on power as well. So what I've done is I've created our own little nuclear island here. You know, we recently unlocked the nuclear power plant, so I've stuck it here, out of the way, on an island, created a nice big bridge that goes over this little bit of river here, over the railway, and then down and connects up to the station. So we have our own separate, you know, massive nuclear power plant. This will generate up to 200,000 watts of power, kilowatts of power, so we won't have any real issues with power going forward for quite a long time now. And then obviously I've just put some pylons in, as you can see, going across the river to hook up to our power grid over here. So let's just run speed back up again, check that these do have power. Yes, they do. Good. And you can see that water is kind of being sucked into that area there by our pumps. I may possibly need to relocate the second one. Let's just take a look. See if it tells us how much water each individual pump is pumping. Nope, just they're both operating normally. So you can see we're absolutely fine there. So now that that's all done, it's time for us to start zoning in additional bits over here. So we need to start zoning in our farmland. So we're going to start off kind of small. And I need to make sure I've got power coming in over here actually before we get any further. So let's just draw in some pylons running alongside our main road just here. And let's run those up to there. And then from here, let's see, let's run them down here. Sort of towards our town area, and then I can run them along the back here as well. So let's draw those across like that. So we have power going in at a couple of different locations. Let's start zoning in our farmland. So let's make that a nice block of farm industry. Oh, we need to district this as well, so we can make it a farm specialty. So let's just district our farm itself. I mean, I could just, actually, we'll just district the whole area like this, because we're not going to be adding in any other industry over here. So we'll just block in the whole section. Like so. See, we're already starting to get some stuff coming in, and it's obviously the wrong specialization. So there we go, Willow Square, which we'll rename. Let's do that now. Actually, just get rid of the name first of all. So just put a space in, and there we go. That takes the name off completely. This will now start to zone in as farmland. So you can already see we've got some farm stuff coming in. These are our little farm houses. And here we've got our animals coming in. That's the last little bit of commercial kind of industry that's going to get ripped out in a second. But I want to create those nice big rolling fields. So let's start doing that. So let's go to fill. And I want a big rolling field section here. So the way to basically do this is you've got to be really careful with how it's done, because if you put too much in too quickly, then it becomes really difficult to manage it. Plus you need to make sure you have workers to actually work the area as well. So I'm going to start zoning in some more of this low density residential. I need to make sure that the areas I'm zoning in can connect to each other via that sort of power grid. I need to put some low density commercial in. Let's put in a block of commercial just there. Let's put in a block of residential just there. You can see we're starting to get things coming in over here, but all I want is yellow fields. So this is basically what you have to do, is you have to just keep going in and deleting everything that spawns in until you get what you want. It's a long, laborious process to get it all done, but once it happens, you end up with these nice sweeping yellow fields. The only problem with doing it this way, though, unfortunately, is that if a business becomes understaffed and becomes derelict, when a new business moves in, it'll change whatever was there before. Or same again, if a business burns down, then the same thing will happen. You'll have to go in and start manually resetting everything again. You can see we're starting to get lots and lots of this yellow field coming in. So we're going to be hopefully creating a nice big yellow field all the way along here. It'll look a little bit gappy in places. There's not a lot you can do to kind of prevent that, but it does give you a decent kind of indication. And here you can see what I mean about businesses not getting the right number of people in. We've got a building going in just there. Let's take that out. Same with there and there. So I'm going to carry on basically doing this, just managing our little town needs and continually building in little bits like this, and then taking out what shouldn't be there, and hopefully we'll have a nice completed kind of big yellow field here a little bit later on. So I will catch you very shortly. So our little farming town is progressing quite nicely. You can see we've got this nice big sweeping field here. Now we've got a barn kind of popped up just there, and I'm quite happy for that to stay there because it kind of blends in quite nicely, I think, with the terrain. But we've got that really nice long field all the way along there. All of those are individual businesses, but you know, it just creates that illusion of one great big field. And what we'll do is probably put another one in alongside it here as well. Over here I've added in a riding stable because I felt it was quite a good location for a riding stable, this little sort of farming town that we're building here. And then I've started to zone in some other stuff as well. So we've got a little bit of commercial just here, got some residential running along here, And then as we come into here, this is where we start to have some of our commercial and residential, sort of meeting. We also have our services as well, so we've got a little clinic just there. Just here we've got an elementary school, and opposite that we've got a nice large playground. We've got a high school in just over here, and then a big park opposite the high school, or just next to the high school. More residential over here. You can see, the rest of our commercial popping up. This is going to be kind of like our main street through the centre of our little town here, with commercial either side of it. And then obviously we have our services just here for police and fire. Got a little plaza just behind the police station there, again, just to help make the area look a little bit nicer. We do need to add in a crematorium. So, and I want a proper cemetery in this little town area. So let's find somewhere for the cemetery. Let's see, where can we squeeze this in? I don't really want to put it right next to the kiddie school. Give the kids nightmares. Let's see if we can find somewhere decent for the cemetery. We could put it all the way down here, I suppose. Would mean getting rid of those little bits of commercial that are building in, but you know what, I'm fine with that. So let's take out those little bits of commercial and put our graveyard in just there. And then we can put a crematorium nice and close to that. Maybe right opposite, just there like that. There we go. Let's see. I'm not having a university over here. We're not going to have buses in this area. I have encouraged biking among the residents. And you can see that we have more demand for commercial and more demand for industry as well. And I can see I've added quite a few policies here as well. So what I've done is I've actually, just to make sure that we get lots of people over here, is I've actually made a little tax break for low residential commercial. Low density residential, as you can see. I've also put a high-rise ban in, an education kind of ban, and I've made this old town, so only traffic that is residential or business can use this district. Nothing else can come in here. So no tourists, etc. So only people who live or work in this area can actually use this land. Let's start adding in another block of industry. Let's try and continue our field theme. So let's do that. And we're going to need somewhere. We're going to need to have some waste disposal. So let's put an incinerator here, I suppose, just off the main road. It needs water, so let's make sure we've got a little extension on our pipe like that. And now we'll let this grow in, and then we'll start tweaking and editing the industry as it spawns in. Okay, so I've just had to make a few little changes over here. When I said that the power plant produced 200,000 kilowatts of energy, I was very, very wrong. It's $200,000 it costs. It only outputs 640 megawatts. So what I've had to do is just strip out a whole load of these, because we were losing money consistently on a daily basis. And we still are a little bit, but not as bad during the day. When we have a lot more sort of traffic, we are making a bit more money. But we go to our economy, we were paying $14,000 a day in electrical. You can see on the far right in our expenses. We've got that down to $10,000 now by removing some of these plants here. And I've also reduced our power output from 1200 down to 850. So we're well within kind of budget. It goes up to about 500 and something during daytime when stuff kind of switches back on again. But I'm going to look to see if I can actually remove these as well, just to save a little bit of extra cash on our energy. and that should help our budget. So at the moment we are losing money at night time, but when the day comes over we will start earning money again. I've also added in a little bit more zoning around here to kind of fill this block up a bit, and then I've also added an extra strip down here of residential as well to really kind of get as many people into the area as possible to stop our businesses from all going vacant. And this is our farm at the moment, so you can see we have these long sweeping fields all the way along here. We do need something in there because I've added in, as you can see, an additional little bit of routes just here as well, just to create a better traffic flow around our farm district. But let's zone in some stuff there, and let's try and get a couple more fields to spawn in this gap just here. And over here you can see you've got 2 of these barns now, and a great big silo for our grain storage just there as well. So that really kind of just complements our little barn that we have just there, and fits in really nicely with what we have over here. And then I've also moved the farmhouses over here as well. Actually that house looks a bit out of place, so we'll get rid of that one, and I might get rid of that one as well. I'll leave that one there for now. You can see I've got some pigs gone in there. I've got a bit of field, which is good. I want a bit of field to go in just here as well. There's a lot of constant, letting stuff get built and then immediately deleting it when you do this kind of tweaking to try and get, a very specific kind of look. And there is no guarantee that what you create will stick around in the long run as well. As I said, we had a few things go out of business over here. They just went derelict as we were trying to zone in more stuff. And so they got replaced, and I had to keep removing and deleting until we got fields back in that spot again. So there's no guarantee that this will end up staying like this, because if we don't pay attention to it, and things start going a bit wrong over here, there's every chance that when we do come back, it'll end up looking completely different to how it looks right now. But there we go. Do a little bit more time warp, and then we'll finish off the episode. So I will see you in just a moment. So I've added a little bit more industry here, a little bit more animal stuff in. So you can see we've got a couple of little sort of forestry areas there. We've also got our animal section over here, lots of pigs, lots of cows. Couldn't really get anything else in that section there, so we've got this kind of little fieldy kind of area just there. Nice little shed just there, and we've obviously got a couple of sort of sheds over here as well. So we have a nice sort of side area for our farm here. There's no point zoning in anything in here because we will almost immediately struggle to get workers, and a lot of the businesses will go derelict. So our little farm town is about as big as it can be at the moment to support that amount of farmland. If we wanted to increase the size of this farm, and we have scope to do that, then obviously we would need to drastically increase the amount of residential in here as well. But for now, this is pretty much done. So that's it for the end of this episode and the end of this week. Come Monday, we will start zoning somewhere else, probably somewhere in this middle area, so we can start to link up our 2 kind of sectioned areas there. So if you have some suggestions, if you have some ideas, then obviously let me know in the comments, or you can message me on my Facebook page at Jim Bob Plays Games on Facebook, and we will take those into account, and we'll see what you guys come up with, and I'll have a think over the weekend as well. And then on Monday we'll sit down, we'll get some new stuff created for Jimsville. So that's the end of this episode. As I say, thanks for watching, and I will catch you back with some more City Skylines PS4 action very soon.